So quite interesting talk by Brian, and the good thing is it's very easy for me to transition from this topic right now to what I'm going to present now. The background is we are selling product ads and Google ads through a technology, and we work with ASOS for a long time. So I have lots of friends at ASOS. I work at this company. I'm quite familiar. It's one of the most exciting concepts so far. So they achieved big growth. And I'm taking a slightly different angle today. So when I initially planned my session for today, I had lots of details on Google Shopping, how to tweak campaigns, how to run search ads in a more profitable way. And I was told it's rather high level. You guys are not as nerdy as I am. You are business people. So I'd like to give you some insights which are related to what we are doing. And it's essentially about Google's push in retail. We've seen Google transitioning from a search engine more to an e-commerce platform. And then we take a look at how Amazon and Google are actually converging and how they are getting more and more similar, and also some guess and outlook of what will happen in the near future. And so then highlighting some facts on pricing on these two platforms. So it's rather high level. I'm going to have a different talk tonight at the PPC offline event, same location, 6:30. So if you are interested in details on Google Shopping, tips and tricks, how to optimize campaigns, please come back at 6:30. There will be just a slight overlap. So let's start with some high-level market insights. So just to clarify at the beginning what I'm talking about. So you see this green area, these are text ads. And then the orange area, these are product ads related to the Google Shopping platform, just to make sure that we are speaking the right language. If we compare text ads, so traditional search, against Google Shopping, you see that the share of Google Shopping has constantly increased, and it happened in all different markets. So Germany, UK, US, it's all the same. It's growing all the time, and it will continue to grow. So text ads are stagnating, somewhat even declining in the total volume. And if we compare the exposure of shopping ads on desktop and mobile, you also see that mobile is leading the game. Usually you have relatively moderate conversion rates on mobile, but with product listing ads, Google Shopping, the conversion rate is much higher. And it's also way more compelling if you search on your mobile phone to click on a product. It's this visual thing rather than reading a text ad and then finally somehow getting to the product you're looking for. One thing which is contradictory, and I'd like to highlight this here, it's when you take a look at the Alphabet earnings report. So Google is under the roof of Alphabet now, and they publish their quarterly earnings. And for now, I think more than 2 years, you see that the cost per click is constantly going down. So on a per click basis, you as retailers, you're paying less and less and less. How does this combine with the fact that you perceive that things are constantly getting more expensive? So someone is making way more money with you, but you pay less on a per-click basis. How can you explain this? And if you then take a look at the upper circle, you see the paid clicks on the Google properties. They grew by 55%. So for some reason, the cost per click goes down, but there's much more volume. So in the end, it means you pay less per click, but there's so many more clicks you have to pay for that in the end, the Google bill is getting bigger and bigger. And I'd like to walk you through a little bit to explain the rationale of this. First of all, there's a Google explanation. And the Google explanation is we get a bigger growth on mobile. Mobile clicks are less expensive. And because of the growth of mobile, your cost per click goes down and the volume goes up. So this is not wrong, but it's just part of the story. And I'm here to not reflect what Google is telling, but rather what I believe is the whole big picture. Let's go through the composition of the Google search engine result page over the years. And let's not start at the early days. Who of you remember what Google looked like in 2003? It was just a bunch of tiny little text ads on the side rail. There was nothing. So all was organic traffic you got. Then we switch now to 2013, and you see these green areas and the orange product ads, shopping ads. They almost cover the entire page. So there are no organic links left. And if we then, if you analyze the composition of the SERPs in 2013, you saw these product listing ads just underneath the text ads. It was a first test to bring them into the SERPs. And in 2014, Google said, oh, interesting, this seems to work quite well for us. Why don't we put them on top? So give them some more exposure, some more prominence, so that more clicks go through. And in 2015, they said, okay, why just showing these 5 product listing ads? Let's rather show 8. It's working quite well for us. So they moved them to the right and got way more volume. So this is the reason why you see constantly increasing the share of Google Shopping. At some point, they said, okay, these text ads, they are distracting. People should go through the product ads, so let's get rid of the text ads. And finally, they said, now 8 small text ads, why don't we make 9 of them and we make them much bigger? So the next impact. So what actually happens is that the click-through rate of a product ad is much higher. So the likelihood that someone searching and clicking through this sort of product ad is much higher than just by showing text ads. So much more traffic, instead of going through the unpaid organic links, is now being funneled through paid areas. So Google kind of found a mechanism to make all these ads relevant, to make money with them, while still having something compelling for the user so that they can immediately find what they are looking for. So this means that the available number of ad impressions or clicks grew so fast that the budgets couldn't keep up with that sort of pace. So imagine you have a budget, let's say you are spending 100K per month on Google, and before there were 100K clicks available, now there are 200K clicks available. Means you won't double your budget, you maybe slightly increase it, but then the cost per click goes down, but the volume overcompensates it. So putting this a bit into perspective, what this means is Google has grown in the past couple of years by mainly having more ad inventory on the result page. So making everything paid, and this gave them the uplift, and this is why the cost per click went constantly down. If you take a look at this, I mean, organic is almost under the fold already, so it means that it's difficult now for Google to further increase the space. It's all ads, so what can they do now? And I predict that now by Q4 or even maybe Q1 2019, this trend will now reverse. So the volume won't grow as fast anymore, but at the same time, the cost per click will constantly pick up. So I'd say Google has a good opportunity to grow at the same pace for the next couple of years, but then it will become slightly harder. And driving that sort of growth, let's see whether it happens, but I guess things will become a bit more difficult. Let's take the Google perspective a little bit. So I think we would roughly agree, we cut out one text ad here, and we put 3 product ads underneath it, and we are comparing the size here. So one of these text ads is roughly the same size as 3 of the product ads. So we know from our data that a click, or that the cost per click on a product ad is 28% higher than a click on the text ads. If we combine the click-through rate of 3 product ads against 1 text ad, so same size comparison, we see that the click-through rate for the product ads is 77% higher. So if you multiply this through, Google makes more than twice as much money with the product ads than with the text ads. So it's pretty obvious that this is the winning format, and this is the reason why this will further grow over the next couple of years. Let's take a brief look at the competition between Google and Amazon and the dynamics happening there. And I'm not sure whether everyone is aware of how similar these two companies are already today. So let's take a look at 2010. Left side, Google, right side, Amazon. So completely different thing. On the left-hand side, text, some ads, but nothing related to shopping stuff. On Amazon, you mainly found, well, in 2010, they were not anymore a book retailer, but it's clearly a retail page. So no way to really compare the two, and they seem to be completely different. If we take a look at 2018 and we compare Google Shopping versus Amazon, you see, oh, interesting, isn't it roughly the same? You see products on Google on the left-hand side, the navigation on the left, the search bar on the top, and on the right-hand you see Amazon. What this screenshot now doesn't include is something called Amazon Sponsor Products. So Amazon found a mechanism to also squeeze out a little bit more money by offering resellers to pay for better rankings. So as a retailer, you can bid and you can leverage your positioning. So it's already somewhat paid. So if we then take a look at what Google is announcing and what they are testing currently, some of you might have heard of the buy button in Google. So it's something Google announced, I think, roughly 2 years ago. The story was, this is just for mobile. So mobile experience is not good. So we need to find something to increase the conversion rate. So this is why we're putting the buy button in there. It hasn't really gotten enough traction because I think technically things were more complicated than Google also expected. But on the long run, if you see Amazon, what are they? They have their retail margin, they have their marketplace commission, and now they have some advertising model in there. Google, they just have a plain advertising model, so it's all paid. And what will Google probably do to match the Amazon offering, so convenience in shopping, buy the stuff easy with one click, is, of course, at some point, they're going to try to add the buy button all over the place to make the experience easier. You see in yellow, all this Google stuff is paid. It's sponsored products as well. So, and Amazon is pushing these sponsored product ads quite a lot. So at some point, we expect that all the rankings are kind of or somewhat influenced by bids laying in the background. And if you then think, okay, it's getting very, very, very close. So Google then will have some marketplace revenue. They will have their ad revenues coming in. Amazon will still have their retail model, the reseller stuff, plus an advertising model. So it's very, very close if we compare the two platforms. What's actually the huge difference between the two, and if you think who will make it on the very long run, they both will become retail platforms, that's for sure. At the same time, Amazon owns end-to-end logistics. So they are buying these cargo freight airplanes. So everything from the heavy lifting, shipping between continents, also last mile, like flying the stuff out with the drones, Amazon is trying to own everything. So they have this highly efficient logistics machine, whereas Google is mainly relying on partners, and they have also invested in logistics. So they bought 8 robotics companies, for example, and they have their self-driving car. They're experimenting with drones as well. So Google seems to take an approach where they try to ship the stuff from maybe local department stores to the door, but they won't cover the entire value chain of logistics. And I guess in the future it will be difficult for Google to match the Amazon offering so far, because the fundamentals in terms of logistics are fundamentally different here. And I think Amazon is ahead of the race. You might have heard that even more than 50% of the searches already start on Amazon. So this is also something which is scaring Google quite a lot. To highlight one other aspect here, the sponsored product ads, just to underline the convergence of these two, if you go to US retail sites like Best Buy or Newegg, Target, you will see in the assortment sponsored product ads. And this is a new Google product called Google PPA. So what they are doing is they implemented the same functionality of the Amazon sponsored product ads, similar to Google Shopping, within retailers. So they are trying to match even this offering. So from all different angles, we see that the business model is roughly the same, while the underlying logistics are the major difference today. If we take a look at price, it's really interesting. If we, this is now a Google product page, and you see the shop which sells at the lowest price point is featured on the top. So all the traffic will be funneled through the cheapest product. Then in the box right at the bottom on the right-hand side, you see, okay, there are some other guys selling the same stuff, but it's more expensive. Almost no clicks go through that. If we go to Amazon, we see, oh, again, the cheapest offer appears right on the top, and then they have this tiny little red box here, or the box with a red frame, and this indicates, okay, there are some other guys selling the same stuff at a slightly higher price point. We are mainly active on Google. We've started doing the Amazon sponsored product ads, so we have a lot of data from Google. And just to show one example, we were tracking an entire brand ASICS, and we are tracking price changes. So we have a product feed, we know what the price is, and we also have a pricing tool, so we know what the difference compared to the market average prices. And in this case, at some point 2 years ago, we realized that all the traffic for the brand ASICS went down, and we took a look at our campaigns, and we saw there was no bid change. So our client approached us and asked, what's going on? Why am I losing all my performance? So we went into our tracking tool and saw, oh, there was a 5% price increase, and impression volume dropped by roughly 60%. So a minor change in price led to a whole decline in performance. So the impact is really strong. If you are working on Google Shopping, if you are dealing with a system, I'd recommend to not just care about the bids, really pay attention to price. It's the biggest influence factor, even more important than the bid you put on these products. So when we saw this, we had an indication that something is awkward in the system, and Google never told anyone that price was such a strong factor. So we took a bunch of clients and we split out cheap products, or we segmented by cheap products and expensive products. So cheap products were defined as 5% below market average, and expensive products were defined as 5% above market average. And we had roughly the same amount. So you see 1,800 cheap products and 2,000 expensive products. And then what we did is we took a look at the performance data of these two clusters, which roughly had the same size. And we saw that the cheap products got 134% more impressions. If we quickly stop here, so this is clearly something which is factored into the Google algorithm. So immediately, the traffic starts picking up if you lower the price, and you lose impressions if your price increases. So whether it's a machine learning thing or hard-coded in the system, doesn't matter. It's simply something which is happening. So 134% more impressions, roughly the same increase in clicks. Cost per order was 29% lower, conversion rate 60% higher. So this means an increase of 280% of conversions, actual sales. So it's very obvious and very clear that this is the most dominating factor here. And so what we did as we are running product ads, we get into pricing, we are starting to connect pricing with bid management. So in the end, if you think about this, it's just two different sides of the same coin. If you run out of stock, what you should do is probably start increasing your price and decreasing your bids. Before, this was completely disconnected. So in a marketing world, you had the marketing system had no clue about what was going on the inventory side. It didn't understand price. So you had separate systems in place which didn't talk to each other, but really influenced each other. And I believe on the long run, we need a more connected system. So breaking down the silos and bridging the gap between merchandising, pricing, inventory management on the one side, and the bidding and marketing side of things. Again, I have lots of more details around pricing and strategies and how to optimize shopping. I wanted to keep it away from you, just highlight these more global impacts. So if you are interested in these details, please come back at 6:30 and we have something or somewhat more nerdy stuff. And now I have time to answer questions and yeah, looking forward to it.